Welcome, everyone. I'm Dr. Cathy Collins. I've been a media specialist for about 23 years now, and also have been serving as an NLP ambassador for the past 3. This is my 4th year, and I am very excited to be part of the NewsLitCamp. And today I'm going to be sharing my favorite strategies and tips about teaching news and media literacy, and sharing some practical resources and other juicy tidbits that hopefully you'll be able to put into a toolbox and take back to your home classrooms with you. As we know, AI has been huge, and as we kick off our session, I'd like you to take a quick look at this clip. Those of you who haven't seen it before, those of you who have, you might want to jot down in the chat box there what you're observing. Putting on our AI news literacy detective glasses. Think about the ways that you could use this clip as an opener with your own students. All right. So hopefully you observed a few key things that made you pretty aware that that was AI and not an actual robot playing pickleball. Number one, you can see the graininess around the actual robot. Any other observations you might want to add of your own in the chat box are welcome. And so, you know, pickleball, that's a fun example. There are a lot of examples out there of how AI is being used really just for entertainment purposes. But we also, of course, know as teachers and citizens that there's a lot of misinformation out there. And AI is also, unfortunately, being used as a tool for misinformation. And so I want to just take a quick peek at one more video clip here. This was from 60 Minutes.
He's the computer scientist who's known as the godfather of AI. So what does he know that we don't?
I can't see a path that guarantees safety. We're entering a period of great uncertainty where we're dealing with things we've never dealt with before. And we can't afford to get it wrong with these things.
Can't afford to get it wrong. Why?
Well, because they might take over.
All right, so that's pretty daunting. There is a lot of controversy right now, a lot of debate about, you know, was this tool helpful or hurtful to mankind? I'd love to hear your thoughts again in the chat box as far as ways that you might be using AI in your own classroom environments. What are the pros? What are the cons? It being still so new to the degree of sophistication that it is becoming, that unfortunately the policy has not caught up with the technology. And so, especially in our worlds, in the education world, there's a lot of debate. And of course, none of you would be here if you weren't interested in news literacy and the importance of it. But I love this graphic from NLP, which shows really the why of why it is critical to teach our young people about news literacy. and how to tell fact from fiction and AI from human created content. False news is 70% more likely to be tweeted than true stories. It takes true stories about 6 times as long as false stories to reach 1,500 people. And true stories rarely reach more than 1,000 people, whereas the top 1% of false stories are routinely shared by 1,000 to 100,000 people. In the midst of all this, AI is everywhere. A lot of us are using AI just as a time saver. It is becoming a tool for many professionals, teachers, journalists, and the paragraph that you're looking at here was actually checked for grammar by AI. I'm going to have a little fun here now. And again, these are things that you can take back home and use in your classrooms. Whoops. What I'd like you to do is take a look at the 2 paragraphs in front of you, and in the chat box, let me know your thoughts. Do you think A was written by AI or B? If you guessed A, you are correct. And if you did not, I'm going to give you guys one more shot here. Oops. Apologies. One more for you. Take a look and try to figure out, was A written by AI or B? If you are completely confused, here are some ways that you can tell the differences. And number 1, which we can share with our kids, of course, the emotional nuances. Human articles convey more emotional tone. Their AI tends to be a little more repetitive sounding, a little more robotic, which would make sense. And of course, the advantage we all have as humans, we have our unique perspectives, which really can't be entirely duplicated by AI. So the differences are very subtle, but they are there. And so I am talking a lot about AI, again, because it's part of news literacy right now. This is a huge problem. We are seeing it with the elections. We're seeing it with the war in the Ukraine and now the Israel-Hamas war. And so there are some ways to teach our kids the basics of how to vet a news source. There are the 5 credibility factors. NLP has amazing resources for us, so we don't need to create it from nothing. There are some specific skills, and with my own students, I try to give them a ton of practice. So I'm going to share today some reusable activities. You can use these again and again to help them with skill building, which they need. How to evaluate credibility using the 5 factors, reverse image searching, lateral reading, critical observation, searching the internet archives, and maybe the most important of all, just teaching them healthy skepticism, to not believe everything they see or hear or view online. This infographic by NLP, the Rumor Guard 5, is fantastic. I use it all the time. It's really critically important that we teach our students to take a look. Is it authentic? You know, if you're on a website scroll all the way down, read the about, who has posted this information and was it confirmed? Take a look at other sources online and figure out, what are other sources saying about this? Is there evidence that proves the claim? Is the context accurate? Is it based on solid reasoning? These are all things that we can, again, teach again and again, giving them skills. And some fabulous ways to do that are through NLP's tutorials, which I've shared the links to, so you can look at them on your own time post-presentation here. Again, there are different degrees here of, of seriousness. So here's a pretty humorous image of LeBron and Biden, unless you're LeBron or Biden, right? So wearing their pink Barbie outfits. And this is a great example to use with students. And this, what I love is that NLP provides a look and a close analysis at using the 5 factors. And it is just great to use these examples as you're teaching them the basic skills. Here's another one, less serious, right? Bigfoot. All right, so it shows you that it's an AI generated image and it gives you a short analysis using those 5 factors. And it gets into the specifics, which is what our students need. And, part of what I try to stress with students, this is a fast-paced world we're in. We're just like inundated by information every moment of every day, but they need to step back. So just taking that time to step back, look carefully and look closely. It seems very basic, but we're not doing it too well as a society, I think. So these are really critical skills to teach our students. All right, and so a good segue from the more fun images is something as serious as the image of an explosion near the White House. Which had an actual impact on the stock market. And what I love also that NLP does, it will provide a video walkthrough of how do you check for accuracy. What are the signs that this is not an actual authentic image? I'm going to try to share now a fun little quick clip from MediaWise.
Hey there, AI Ian. Have you seen this photo of the
Which
Pope
shows
in a
you
Balenciaga
how
puffer
easy
jacket?
it
AI
is.
Ian. It's all over
Have you
the
seen this
internet.
photo of the
Yes,
Pope
I
in a
did,
Balenciaga
Ian. I know a
puffer
lot of
jacket?
people were fooled by
It's
that
all
one.
over the internet.
But really,
Yes,
it's easy to spot this kind of fake content.
How did you know it wasn't real?
Well, it seemed kind of out of character to me, so I did a quick reverse image search. And guess what? It brought me right to a Reddit post. In a community for mid-journey AI-generated images.
That's crazy. This technology is getting more advanced every day. So time to find out, is this legit? Hi everyone, it's me, the real Ian, and welcome back to another episode of Is This Legit? A series brought to you by MediaWise and PBS Student.
All right, so I'll stop there, but you get the idea. AI Ian's a lot of fun to share with students and another great way of introducing how easy it is to manipulate content and how careful we all have to be as citizens to check our sources. And so related to that, I love getting creative with my students. And I really want to share that the more you can actually get them into the technology of this, the more fun they're going to have along with their learning. And so one of the activities I recommend that's a lot of fun is have them go straight to some of these voice changing and image changing sites and have them manipulate images and play around with audio and changing it and shifting it. And then launching a classroom discussion on what helps to identify that synthetic voice versus your own voice. Like, how easy was it to do that? and what are the implications for society if it's that easy. So again, just having them jump right in and play with that technology. I mentioned NLP's tutorials, and I love that there are basic ones and then there are advanced ones that I can share with my classes. And another idea that I want to pass along, I'm always looking for ways as a media specialist to connect news literacy beyond social studies and ELA, which are more, obvious, to science. And of course, with COVID, that there's just like no shortage of misinformation examples that we can use, but connecting to science, connecting to other subjects, and coming up with creative ways to do that, and involving your other subject area teachers. And here's an example that you could share and that you could do with really any grade level. This is a lesson on digital creativity, AI, news literacy, and history. And so the objectives are right there. It's helping them understand AI. It's also exploring the historical significance of primary source photos. So what they do, they read a little bit about AI technology and deep fakes. Then I have them use Adobe Express to there is a very fun generative fill feature, and they can practice adding and removing elements in a sample historic photo. Of course, this could be a current event photo as well. It really could be any photo. You just upload your photo into this easy to use Adobe Express platform, and you can change the image. And then from there, again, we share our fake news examples with each other. And we have a classroom discussion on and reflection about the challenges that were faced in creating and analyzing the image. What did you learn about digital citizenship? In what ways do you think AI could be used responsibly? And how might these skills help you to discern real news from fake news in the real world? Oops. Another example of a reusable activity, I love having students look at two different articles. One would be from a pink slime or disreputable news organization or slanted or biased news organization. Having them look at, there's actually a link here to a map of pink slime organizations across the country. You can localize it, have them take a look at an article from wherever they're living, and then compare it to another article, have them look for evidence to support the claims made in the article, have them scroll down, find the about page and summarize it, have them do some lateral reading, look at two other credible sources, then have them read what we call upstream, find an original source of information. What additional context does that teach them about the topic? Have them look at fact-checking sites and what do those sites say about this topic? And NLP has a great full lesson there, and as well as PBS Learning Media. Another activity that I use over and over again is just again for NewsLit skills practice, telling fact from fiction. There's a video actually for Digital Citizenship Week, which I believe was this week. And this is Michael Harvey, a professional who shares about how to evaluate online sources, share the video, share the CRAAP evaluation resource, and have them check out, again, 2 online resources. I've linked 2 articles down there on climate change, but it could be any topic of your choice related to your curriculum area. Have them determine which is more reputable, why is it more reputable, which is quite clearly a biased site. And then I cannot leave News Literacy Camp without sharing the awesome benefits of Checkology, which is, for those of you who are not aware, a free curriculum that the News Literacy Project has available on the web. I love using there's a NewsLit quiz you can give the kids for an easy assessment. I use that at the beginning and then at the end to chart how much they've learned through the course. Checkology lets you create classes, lets you customize their content, which is really extensive. And the videos are really engaging for, I use it for 8th grade, I've used it for 6th grade, and I've used it for high school level. And what I love about this, it can be self-paced. You could do some of it as a all class activity. You could also break it down and have them do it on their own, depending on your objectives for your course. And I mentioned the SIFT, which is an amazing resource, especially right now with all that is happening in the world. I look to that weekly for their awesome classroom ready slides and resources. We're all really super busy as teachers, so to have that show up in my inbox each week is wonderful. Sometimes I will just use a quick example of a current event and how they've interpreted it just to kick off a classroom discussion. Also, I mentioned how important it is, as we all know, just to keep teaching them, keep giving them the practice that they need. So the check center missions are fabulous. These are fact-checking activities where they get to the bottom of a piece of information using their detective skills. And there's a check center to help them do that. I wanted to also share just my own pieces of advice on how to start this, because I'm not sure who's tuning in today. Some of us are full-time library media specialists. Some of us are classroom teachers, but either way, sometimes just starting small. As I mentioned, just bringing up or having them bring in something that they found online or in the news that they are suspect about, and then doing that as a classroom activity together is great. Having them pay attention and share examples, have them do the work, have them bring in their examples of misinformation. I mentioned the importance of integrating tech. That can be a great engagement tool, just getting them right into the actual technology and having them play with it. Also want to mention there is a wonderful newsroom to classroom program that NLP offers. But, you know, one other way to go, I have looked into my local journalism community, and I've applied for grants. So grant writing is a great way to get speaker fees paid for. And there are local journalists who are welcome into my classroom, and they're out there. They love to talk to kids about what they're doing. So don't forget about them. I wanted to spend a bit of time talking about the election and some of the issues that we need to help our kids understand. It basically is, as you all have already probably seen online, it's becoming basically the Wild West of campaigns. Anyone can produce political content. So there's some talk of FEC regulation. So this can be also really important to share with kids the ins and outs of what and the debate around all of this, as I mentioned. With the Israel-Hamas war, there's also no shortage of topics as far as relating to the stresses on democracy. We have a lot of global elections happening next year, so to show them a map of the elections that are happening, and the challenge to find the facts and the truth amidst all of the hype. And I have some examples that you can link to right here. Of course, the video of the dystopian future, the fake AI image used about Trump. And yeah, there's a few different examples that you can take a look at later. I love, students love to laugh. Humor is also the best way to hook them into a topic. So sharing things like the funny State of the Union addresses that are out there. And again, they're funny unless you're the candidate running, right? So sharing some of those examples can be a great jumping off point for discussion. NLP also has a fabulous infographic all about election rumors and the 3 common types of election disinformation. And a couple other sources I love to tap into. KQED, Above the Noise, has wonderful videos that I share a lot about. And this one's about how and why politicians use social media. NLP, also through Techology, has fabulous info about the elections. And I mentioned the classroom ready activities, which are fabulous and show up in your mailbox. All you have to do is sign up for the SIFT. I want to also take a moment here to chat about gamification, and I would love to hear from you in the chat box. Please do share your own examples of games that you've used with your students. Some favorites of my middle and high school students, they love Harmony Square. For those of you who haven't heard of Harmony Square, it was actually designed by college students, and it gives them an opportunity to role play as a the chief disinformation officer. Their goal is to get as many likes as possible. So through that, they learn so much about how people manipulate information for bad purposes, and it gives them the chance to drive the boat. And they love it. Some of my students are just obsessed with that game. Another fun one is BBC iReporter, which has little videos along the way and puts students in the role of reporter covering breaking news events. It's fabulous. And a couple others there. Quicker, Spot the Trolls, a fun one. And if you have your own resources to share, I'd love to hear about those in the chat box. Also want to mention, as a great learning tool, Trust Me is a wonderful documentary. It is available for free. I forget the organization that put it out there, but the link is there for more information on it. And there's a discussion guide that I use with students all the time. You can break it down into specific areas you want to cover. It's very current and is done in such a way that it really engages students. Another tool I want to quickly share here is a media literacy integration action plan. So I know personally I need to get my ducks in a row and organize my thoughts before I launch into a new curriculum area. So if my goal is to cover more news literacy across subject areas, this is just one tool to get there. You're welcome to reuse this template. It's a Google Doc. You can make a copy and use it for yourself. It links to the ISTE standards and it links to global competence, which of course we want our students to connect to the rest of the world. So beyond the US, it's just a planning doc to help you organize and work with other teachers and figure out how you would like to collaborate. And then I don't know who amongst you already knows about the Cult of Pedagogy by Jennifer Gonzalez. Fabulous. And here is a link to specific lessons on news literacy. And I love her flow here. So I'm leaving that link available for you guys. And I love especially her suggestion that we don't want to just debunk disinformation. We also want to make sure our students are learning to look at the value systems behind them. We don't want students to think everything's a lie and that they can't believe anything they read. There are experts, there's validation, and that's the whole point of teaching them about the standards of journalism and basically pulling back the curtain and having them ask questions about authorship, intent, and message. As election season is more and more in our faces as a nation, I also want to recommend the How to Speak Up Without Starting a Showdown, also through NLP, as a great guide. It can be a bit nerve-wracking given our current political climate to open the door to these discussions. And so I want to recommend this highly as something worth discussing as a class. And a few more resources worth taking some time to mention. Already I showed you AI Ian, the Teen Fact Checking Network. It's great for peers to be able to, teens to be able to see their peers doing the hard detective work that they are learning about news literacy. The topics are wonderful. They're done really engaging. Highly recommend that. Common Sense Media as another source. Of course, NLP, and in addition, PBS Learning Media. These are all just tools and resources that I use in my daily lessons with my students. Crash Course is another great one. They have Navigating Digital Information and Media Literacy. And I believe at this point, I would like to hear from you all. So I am hoping for my partner to jump in to help me see the chat questions that might be out there.
Yeah, I mean, there are a number of great comments in here. We do have a request for a link to the integration plan template.
It is there straight on the slides deck, which I think is going to be shared out.
It is, yeah. So when we send out the slides, we're going to be making sure that the links are included. We also got a comment about discussing examples for the Israel-Hamas war and the importance of the having productive conversations is really important. I can't recommend that enough. I put my comment in the chat there, but I think an essential framing for this is the discussing discourse over debate. Right, we're here to have a discussion, not to not to sort of shout others down. Is that something you talk about when you've got kids in the library? How do you approach that?
Yeah, that's a really important issue to bring up. And as I touched on already, in this political climate, you have to, I think it's very, very important we teach our students how to have a civil discussion, how to address the facts of an issue in a respectful way, and how to honor all viewpoints. It's just critically important. And adults out there aren't really doing the best job at this. So, you know, we don't have necessarily ready role models. So I'm just thinking, actually, you're making me think of just today, the New York Times had a wonderful opinion piece written by a Palestinian American about the need to listen to both sides, about the need to, you know, to really understand deeply the other's viewpoint. So I think that's really a core tenet of news literacy, but more than that, of you know, just civil discussion. So so the way I do that, I mentioned already, I think that little guide that NLP put out on, you know, how to have a civil discussion, and just handing that out, having a classroom discussion at the beginning of my quarter, my semester, we come up with classroom rules. So that's a good time to actually bring that up as we create our own classroom rules of how to be respectful toward each other and honor each other's differing viewpoints. Then I pull that in as just a handout that we then can discuss. Yeah, and I have to say, I'm fortunate to work where I work right now. There's been it's building a culture, right? And it takes time. And sometimes you learn when someone maybe says something that comes out in a way that could hurt others, then yeah, and I can't think at this moment of a specific instance, but it's incredibly important to grab it right there and then, you know, grab that comment and ask for a reframe. I will often have that student think of a different way to ask the question or to make the point if it came out in a way that could hurt others. And sometimes, yeah, 9 times out of 10, it's not intentional, right? So it's basically valuing and making it a priority in the classroom to directly, oops, my light just went out. School building. Anyway, I hope you can still see me.
We can.
I can clap to. Oh, it did work. Look at that. All right. Technology. See, there's a pro of technology. So I lost my train of thought, but I think what I was trying to say is we have to make it a number one priority to talk directly about the need for respectful conversation.
You know, I think,
and if you set those rules up, you know, right from the start, yeah, I find the students, they pay attention. And sometimes it's, as I said, through learning by mistake, right? Someone says the wrong thing, and then we address it in a way that student doesn't feel shamed, but gets to learn how to say it better. Did you want to add something there?
well, I think especially with middle schoolers, right, is that we often perceive them as sort of lacking empathy and being so focused on themselves. But I think what you said was right on the money. There's that we have to teach them how to do it, you know, and that's the thing. If they've never learned this idea of, you know, listening to other viewpoints and being open to other viewpoints, you can't blame them if they've never done that, you know. And I think what you said is just, you know, an excellent point, that, you know, we have to you know, show them, model it for them, and guide them through it, and say, hey, you know, there's a better way of doing it. I like that very much. So we have a couple more minutes. So the next session, everyone, is going to be starting at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So just coming up here in about 5-ish minutes. That's the education reporting tips for educators and working with journalists from Becca Savransky. She's working at the Idaho Statesman. Dr. Collins and I will stay on for another minute or two if anybody has additional questions. But that's going to be starting in just a few minutes. One question, a few people are sticking around, Cathy. So,
Great.
do you have any sort of tips for how your classroom teachers should approach their librarians to maybe start a collaborative effort on this?
Oh gosh, great question. One of my favorite questions, actually. Yeah, just, we're sometimes forgotten.
Mhm.
We love to get involved, so please do involve us. And yeah, just throw some topics that you as a classroom teacher are kind of stuck with, when you just get stuck and you need a fresh pair of eyes on whatever it is that you've been teaching for the last 10 or 20 years. And just send us your topic with your goals and ask for a refresh. We love doing that. We love collaborating. And it can be in the area of, it doesn't have to be literacy related. It could be, I've done, it could be STEM related. We're kind of, I call myself the everything teacher. So,
Yeah.
whether it's just coming up with a curated list of resources, just as I shared some of my favorite teaching resources on the topic of news literacy, it could be anything though. STEM, how do I make this more hands-on? It can be, how do I make it more how do I make it more relevant to what we're doing right now, or what kids are learning about right now? Whatever it is you need a refresh on, just hand us your topic. Email us, stop by, have lunch. We're friendly folks.
If you're not using your librarians, you are missing out on an amazing resource. Well, thank you so much for this presentation. Thank those of you who are still with us. We're going to be making sure we send out the slides to everyone. Hopefully we will see you in some of our afternoon sessions. So we're going to be closing this session so we can get started on the next one. So have a wonderful day. And Cathy, thank you so much for joining us and doing this session for us. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's been great.
All right.
And,
Have a great day,
thanks
everyone.
again for having me.